Hello and welcome to this new video about one of the features you can have in the anime cleric asset that we're selling in the marketplace. As an added bonus, I added a damage indicator and let's see what it is. So the cleric received damage and a little UI pops up that says how much damage it has received. It's heavily inspired on RPG usual user interface, and well, if you heal the character, then because it's a heal over time, then it still shows how much is healing, and the color of the text is also changing. And I'm gonna show how can you do this. I mean, if you want it already done, you can buy the asset and you can copy and paste it from there. But here, I'll show the code, and if a single piece of code is too large, maybe I can give you a paste bin so you can copy and paste those blueprints like I have done for other tutorials. But let's start. So first, we're using a little component, an actor component. In this case, it's called, here I have my folder that has all the damage indicator stuff. And we have these three assets that will power this behavior. The first will be the widget blueprint, that it's a widget that has the numbers. In this case, this is a debug text. If I for any reason see that this text have the plus symbol and the minus symbol, then something is very wrong. And also, if I see that the number is 19,99999, then I also know that something is not working properly. So this widget has the following sub widgets. It's a canvas panel. I have selected the width 512 by 512, and I have an horizontal box that contains the sign that it can be plus or it can be minus, and the number. This is done so whenever the character is hit, then I can show the minus sign, and if it's healed, oh, I missed, then it shows the plus sign. So those are the widgets needed. For the behavior, we can go to the graph editor. And my event graph is really clean. So here I'm just handling the animation. The animation that I created in the designer part of this widget blueprint is this one. I click here on plus animation and in up and fade. And what this does is just move around the horizontal box. You see? And I change the render opacity from 1 to 0. And I'm moving all the canvas, or yeah, I'm only moving the horizontal box. Here it is, horizontal box. That's the animation. Here's in real time. I'm doing this animation this way, manipulating some timing with the render opacity, for example. And in the event graph, I'm just calling that whenever this widget is created, then I'll play the animation that goes up and fades out. And when this animation finishes, then I call the animation finished dispatcher. So the other function I need to show you here is the set damage to show, because here this is the function that will get all the values needed so we can show if it's healing or if it's doing damage. So whenever I create the widget and call this function, then I'm sending it the damage, the number, and the damage type. I'm doing it this way because if you remember the tutorial video about the projectile and about the area of effect heal, I created a little damage type that was called healing damage. And my heal AoE blueprint, whenever it does damage, it's sending the damage type that is corresponding to the healing damage. So here, I need to know the amount of damage and what type of damage I'm doing. I have set up this function by the parameters I wanted. I'm not using the default damage function. And I created these two inputs, just like this. So we set the text of the number to the damage to show. Then the damage type, I'm checking if it's a healing damage type. If it's true, then the sign will be plus, and if it's false, will be minus. I could add also a check if in the case that it's 0, but I'm not showing this widget if the damage is 0, so I do not have to worry about that. Now, if the damage is a healing damage, I also change the color of the whole text. So the damage text color and the heal text color. Here I'm using an specified color, and the damage text color is being chosen as white. I could change it to red if I wanted, so whenever I play a hit, then the text has changed the color. But white is somewhat of a standard, so I won't change it. And the heal text color will be this shade of green. And also, if it's true, it's a healing damage, then I set it to green, and if it's false, I'm setting it to white. And I'm changing these two text box widgets that I have set up as a variable. You can set it up as a variable if you click the text box and check this checkbox is variable. And I have given it a name so I don't get confused later. So that's it for the widget. Now, I mentioned that the widget is one of the parts that I needed. I also needed a way to show the widget in the world. This is done through a widget component, and I created a widget component that will hold this widget. So if I double click this, we can see that the parent class is a widget component, and the widget component can be drag and drop to the map. Well, can be drag and drop to another actor. That's what I meant to say. So if I needed to use it, for example, in my blueprint character, it's here, I could add it here. Here it is. I can add a component, and my widget component is called damage indicator. No, damage widget component. And I'll have it right here. It's not showing anything because my damage widget component manages all the logic inside it whenever the the begin play is executed. So the begin play is when this component is created. So, let me check if it works if I start simulating. Maybe it would simulate. No, it's not working because there is no information being sent to the widget component. But let's check the widget component here. This is the begin play, and I'm asking for these widgets. The widget component, I'm getting tired of saying that, but this blueprint, if we go to the class defaults, we can see everything that has something to do with it. In this case, I have the user interface, the space, I'm setting it to screen. So whenever nope, that's not it either. Whenever it shows up, it doesn't matter if I'm looking forward or backwards. So if I turn around my camera, then that widget will still be looking towards me because it's being shown only in the screen. If it was in the world, then I would need to worry about the rotation of this component and the rotation of the camera, so it doesn't get weird. So we're using a screen, we're setting the widget class to a damage indicator that is the widget that we created. And I'm doing something like adding here like a widget, and here I'm selecting the damage indicator, something like this. This I'm setting it on the screen, that's why I couldn't see the other one. But this would mean that I would need to put some code here in the blueprint of the character, but it's not. It would not be too modular for it to work on all cases, and you would need to copy and paste a lot of code if you wanted to use this type of damage indicator to other characters. So I'm not doing that. What I have done is just look which was the base class of this class, and that's the widget component that I have been talking about a lot. And here I created my own class that extends from the widget component. I created that. I defined that whenever this starts the begin play, then I look for the widget that is here, that I'm defining here in my widget class. I'm checking if it's a widget blueprint from the damage indicator class. I'm binding it to the onFade anim finished, that is the event that gets called whenever the animation finishes. So when an animation finishes, I'm calling this fade anim finish, and I'm calling this event dispatcher that I have created here. So that event dispatcher is a way that this other blueprint can communicate with the damage indicator, and with this binding is like subscribing to this event here on the damage indicator. So whenever this gets called, this other blueprint gets notified, and this bind will call this other event that just destroys the component. And what is happening is that whenever the animation finishes, the dispatcher is called and this widget component gets destroyed, and we're cleaning up all the references. And after setting all this up, I'm setting the damage to show. Here is the damage to show, and a damage type that I have created as a variable. So now I have a widget component that handles my widget blueprint, a widget blueprint that handles the animation and only the user information, and just sets up the colors, set up the text. But I do not have any type of logic here because it's really not needed. It's important to decouple some logic into other components so it can be reusable. Now, with this widget component, I'm gonna open it in my content browser. We can now go to the blueprint damage indicator component. This is an actor component, and we can see in our cleric that I have added a blueprint damage indicator component. I will see if there is any logic or any reference in the blueprint of the character. Just to be sure, find references, and there are no references found. So, how is this happening? What's the secret sauce of this component? Let's check it out. Right click and edit. So here's the event graph. On the begin play, I will bind the on take any damage event from the owner. The owner will be the actor that has this component. In this case, the blueprint cleric, whenever I add the component of the damage indicator here, it will get the owner as it would be the blueprint cleric. And because he's an actor and every actor can receive damage, then I'm just binding it to this event called on take any damage. On take any damage, this will be the event that will create the damage widget component, and the damage widget component creates and shows the widget blueprint that has all the information about the damage. And here I'm just setting, I'm adding a widget component, the damage widget component. I'm setting the class that I want to use, and the relative transformation. What this code does is just assigning a random float. So whenever more than one hit happens, you can see that the width is being the width position. Well, the position inside the width is being randomized, and that little code shines whenever we have more than one projectile hitting the character. And it gives it a little nice effect. Here there's an actor rotation. This shouldn't be here because the rotation doesn't matter because we're drawing the widget blueprint on the screen and not on the world. If we were drawing it on the world, then the rotation would really matter, and it could be a pain in the ass to set it up, but in our case it doesn't matter. And the other variables that I need to pass is the value of the damage that I want to show and the value of the damage type. In this case, this on take any event, on take any damage event, this gives us the actor that has been damaged, the damage that is being done, and the damage type. As an object reference, I'm just getting the class so I can pass it around. Now, why this was done in such a maybe roundabout way is so it can be easily used by any other actor other than the cleric. For example, if I created here a cube Let me scale it up. And in this cube, I wanted to add that whenever it takes damage, like that, I wanted to add the damage indicator. Then here I could add it as a component. Add component. I'm gonna search my damage indicator component. Damage indicator component. Here it is. I'm gonna press play. And now it also works with this actor. And if I want to heal it, it won't work because I believe I have make it so that AoE healing position itself, so it doesn't collide with any of actors that are not characters, but it can still receive damage. So if you wanted to use this damage indicator in any other character, in any other project, feel free to use it. And I hope that this has been a useful video for you guys. Be sure to leave a comment and leave suggestions. Yeah, suggestions about the other topics that may be of interest. I'm always looking at the comments. So yeah, see you in the next one, guys.